But yeah, the comic was well received back in the day, and I think it was pretty early on that they decided to turn this into a movie. Um,
Yeah, and if this came out now, I don't think people would, comic wise or movie wise, people are just used to it at the time. But at the time, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, it was a little jarring for general
no, there was
audience.
a lot of controversy
Yeah.
surrounding it, and especially a lot of it has to do with Hit Girl.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Chloe, what's it,
Chloe
Chloe
Grace
Grace
Moretz.
Moritz,
Yeah.
who was probably all of 11 or 12 at the time, and she's just a potty mouthed
Yeah,
little
and she's swearing it
monster.
up like a sailor, like to great comic effect, mind you. But still, it is a 11, 12-year-old girl saying these things, and it's funny because if you read anything online from her, or now or at the time, she's saying she doesn't understand the controversy. I don't talk like this in reality.
Right,
It was the hyper reality of the movie. If I ever said these words, I'd be grounded for 20 years.
right, yeah,
My house.
yeah. But you're getting a paycheck, so loud and proud, baby.
Yep, yep.
Shout it
And
out.
she was even at home. She was embarrassed to say the title "Kick-Ass." She would
Right,
have
she
to
would say
call it
kick
"Kick
butt.
Butt."
Yeah. Or when she was doing press, she would actually just refer to it as the movie,
Yeah.
which is pretty funny. So I'm asking, so I know, Jim, that you watched the closed caption version of most of this stuff.
Yes.
Did they spell it straight out, or did your closed caption even blush?
Oh, did it, you're talking like, did it just have the asterisks and
Yeah, right.
no,
See,
no, it spelled it
asterisks,
out. It spelled
asterisks.
it
Yeah,
out.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a little jarring when you, especially when you first meet her. But yeah,
So what's funny is that they wrote the comic and the screenplay kind of concurrently at the same time. So it's not like the comic came out first and then the movie. They sold the rights to the story before the comic was even published.
oh, I didn't realize that.
And so apparently the comic plot line and the movie plot line end in the same spot, but they take two wildly different paths to get there.
Oh.
So, and Mike, if you read this, or Jeff, if you did, you could probably speak to it more than I do, because I don't know specifically what they changed. But first of all, it's shocked me that it does not have the Marvel logo up front, even though Kick-Ass is now not published by Marvel. At the time, I think
At the
it
time,
was.
right?
But it's not advertised as such.
No,
at
it's
all.
not. It doesn't take place in the Marvel universe.
No.
It's yeah.
But then
They
neither
use
does
a
Big
reference.
Hero
It's
6,
real
but
world
that
where
has it up
Marvel.
front as well.
I'm sorry.
Neither does Big Hero 6, but that has the Marvel logo on up front,
Well,
if
that
I'm
was
not
you.
mistaken.
And it has Stan Lee in it.
And
He
yeah,
did
it
have
does
a
have Stan
cameo.
Lee.
Yes. I don't know. Yeah, that was weird. Matthew Vaughn directed this, and he's got a pretty good pedigree because X-Men First Class, which is one of the better ones. Kingsman, which at least
Yeah.
the first one. The second one's grown on me. Stardust, which was brought up in one of our Facebook posts. He
Yeah, I'd
directed
like
that.
to do that one of these days.
And Layer
One of these
Cake,
shows.
which brought us Daniel Craig.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie.
And if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, he's also involved in those early Guy Ritchie movies, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yep,
and
correct.
Smash.
Yeah, yeah. And Brad Pitt produced this. One of
Yeah.
the producers. So really kind of a bizarre.
And again, probably, they know each other from Snatch and working together.
Yeah,
Because Brad
yeah.
Pitt famously, I love Brad Pitt in that movie in Snatch as the unintelligible
The mumbling
gypsy boxer. Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about the plot of this movie. If you don't know it already, Kick-Ass is the story of three teenage comic geeks. One of them played by Aaron Johnson, now known as Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Is it called TMI Confessionals? Yeah, somewhere along the line he hyphenated, right?
Yeah, somewhere along. I don't know if he got married or he took his wife's name or what happened there. But somewhere along the line he hyphenated. So he's part of a gang of three, and one of them one of the other kids played by Evan Peters,
which is crazy,
from American Horror Story, and Quicksilver.
They're both Quicksilver.
That's
where I thought you were going with that. They both played Quicksilver in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
So pretty funny.
So we've got them side by side, and so we also have Nicolas Cage as Big Daddy. We've got Chloe Grace Moretz, as we said before, as Hit Girl. So the story here is that we've got three teenage boys, and one of them, Aaron Johnson, goes by the name of Dave Lazowski, which hits very close to home to our own Dave Warhowski, who was an ex-member of the show, and also both of them hit very close to home with Mike Wazowski from Monsters Incorporated. So I wonder if there's like a three-way connection between Kick-Ass's Dave, our Dave, and Billy Crystal.
Monsters Inc. There you go.
It's there. So we have Dave Lazowski, and he thinks that he should take matters into his own hands when he sees that all these people in the world are into comic books. Why hasn't anybody actually tried this in real life?
Which is a brilliant observation when you think about it.
Yes, yes. And anything the costume, everything is readily available online for him to buy, as it would be for any of us, right? So he buys this costume. He has these two staffs that come out.
Scuba gear. He bought scuba gear. Although I don't think that's a scuba certified mask.
No.
I've never seen a scuba guy wear a mask like that.
So he goes out after he buys this costume to try and stop crime. And so the first thing he does
How does that go?
These two guys that have already bullied him and his friends in the past. He sees them trying to break into a car. He confronts them in costume with his two staffs, and he immediately gets stabbed and has to go to the hospital. And not only does he get stabbed, he gets hit by a hit-and-run driver as he stumbles out into the street.
Yeah.
So from reality, we get into a little bit of the fantastical here, because once he goes to the hospital and they fix him up, they have to lace his bones with some sort of metal to hold him together after his car accident.
He's now Wolverine.
So he's now Wolverine. He's impervious to pain.
And that's a great scene where he finally goes back to school and his friends are poking him. You feel that? You feel that? And then they stab him with a fork and then he hits him with the back of the tray.
Yeah.
And he's just you feel that? Any friend that you had at 16 years old would be the idiot shooting you going, you feel that?
Yeah. So after this, he goes back out onto the streets and he, as he's trying to save a cat that's stuck up on a fire escape, he happens to foil a beatdown. You don't know what's actually going on, but you have three guys chasing another, and they catch him and they start beating him up. So Kick-Ass intercedes, and because of his imperviousness to pain, he manages to take a lot of hits, a lot of kicks, but he keeps getting up and fighting these three guys off with the guy that they've been chasing. So this happens outside of a donut shop. A lot of kids are filming this, so he becomes a viral sensation. So that's the setup of the movie. And in the background, we have a gangster, and his name is Frank D'Amico, played by Mark Strong, played very scarily by Mark Strong, I might add. And his son happens to be Chris D'Amico, who later becomes Red Mist in the movie.
McLovin.
As McLovin, yeah, McLovin from Superbad. Christopher Mintz-Plasse. We have a lot of three-named actors.
I know, there's some, yeah.
So once Kick-Ass becomes viral, he draws the attention of Big Daddy and Hit Girl, who are in their own right superheroes, but a little off the grid, we should say.
Off their meds is more like it.
Yeah, so Big Daddy is Hit Girl's father, and he's been placed in jail. He was framed by Frank D'Amico, who is a drug dealer, but they put the blame on, what is his name? Damon, right? Damon McCready is his name.
McCready. He was a cop. He was a cop.
So he's framed by Frank D'Amico. He goes into jail and he comes out. His wife has killed herself because she can't face the bills and being a single parent. And his daughter has been looked after by his friend, who is still a deputy in the police department. And he takes Mindy McCready back under his wing, who was Hit Girl, and starts to train her as an assassin. So they become Big Daddy and Hit Girl. Very reminiscent, I would think, but just by listening to him speak, of Adam West's Batman.
That's exactly what he was going for. As a matter of fact, when the dailies were coming in, the producers were like, we have to loop this. We can't use this. And Vaughn was like, dude, we're going balls in on this. And this is where it's going to work. Numerous times I was watching the DVD commentary, and there's numerous times where he said, we're so committed to the stupidity at some level that we just have to completely commit. He's like, this is how he's playing it, and he goes, I had to fight for it. But yeah, it is straight up Adam West Batman.
And the scene where Kick-Ass first encounters Hit Girl is just probably my favorite scene in the movie, where Kick-Ass goes to Razul, the drug dealer's apartment, to tell him to back off from Katie, who is the girl that Dave, Kick-Ass in reality, is interested in. Now, this is a little bit confusing to me. I do know that Katie works in like a drug rehab center, right?
Right.
And that this is probably how she met Razul. But to think that these two characters, the complete opposites of each other, are in any way connected is just a giant leap of logic. And that Dave would want to even be involved with Katie, who is like, anybody that was ever sweet on a character like Razul, I would be like, okay, I think I'm going to rethink my crush on this girl. But anyway, he goes to Razul's apartment to get him to back off of bothering Katie. And he is about to get the beatdown of his life, perhaps killed. He is saved by Hit Girl, who comes on the scene with a 4-letter word that is you would never, ever hear uttered out of the mouth.
You won't hear it out of our mouths either.
Yeah, neither out of our mouths either. And just the scene is a hyperkinetic, super violent scene where she's just impaling characters, cutting legs off, and that's their introduction is to Kick-Ass and Hit.
And it's all done under the Banana Splits Tra La La theme song, which just elevates it. Again, this is another show where the music really takes some of these sequences and just takes it to the next level. And that being the introduction of Hit Girl.
Now, I don't know how, if this Chloe Grace Moretz, any of this was her or just like a really super short stunt person or what, but just whoever did her stunts is just amazing in themselves. It's almost like watching Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, and maybe it's a lot of wire work.
And Hit Girl just so surpasses whatever Big Daddy has, who in himself is a monster in his own right, whenever you see him let loose on the bad guys. But the real star of this movie, I think, is Hit Girl. That's what I think the movie should have been called. Is Hit Girl, because as soon as she appears, she just steals every scene that she's in.
Correct. Now, Mike, you last week when we talked about this, you said you had not seen this movie, but you did know who Hit Girl was.
Yeah, because of the comics. And it's very similar to what the comics are. But for Kick-Ass, in the current comic, it's a female Afghan war veteran is Kick-Ass.
Really?
Yeah.
And she's part of the Marvel Universe?
No, because
that's a different. Oh, you said it was a different publisher.
Yeah, I think it's Image.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but what was your take on this? Because this was the first time you had seen it, and
I loved it.
Yeah.
I adored it. So it was great, and you're absolutely right. Hit Girl steals all the scenes, and you know what? And I really like Nicolas Cage because he's a big comic guy, and to be able to get into a comic film. It was probably
especially after that Superman movie fell apart with Tim Burton. Yeah. I'm sure he was happy to. From what I understand, he did as much physical stunt work as he possibly. Like they said that he just reveled in putting that costume on. And again, they tried to. Jim, you kind of poo-pooed the fact that any one of us could go online and buy a costume, but I guess they tried to keep it as he's wearing work boots. They tried to keep it as grounded in reality as possible, that this is stuff you could really go on eBay or go on Amazon and buy. And all of Big Daddy's costume, it's a French riot gear costume is all it is, with a modified mask.
Yeah.
So it's stuff that you can get your hands on. Now, I mean, some of the weaponry he had was just out of control.
Yeah, that's when you get to the end of the movie when
but that's such a great reveal. That is such a great reveal. Yeah, it is just a fun movie. It is bloody. It is, your main character. You don't know if he's actually gonna, live or die. But it is great.
I didn't know that there was a sequel. Has anyone seen that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does it hold up?
No.
Yeah, Jim Carrey's in it.
Kind of taking the Nicolas Cage role. And then eventually it's revealed that he's the villain, is Jim. So it just kind of sullies the impact of the first movie, I think.
Correct.
I
agree.
You're best watching the first one and just leaving that lie.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just go and pick up the comics afterwards. I don't know how much. I think they did 1, 2, and 3 in the comic series, but how much of the second movie picked up from the second series, I don't know.
And Mike, as you were saying, Nicolas Cage is, we know he's such a, comic fan himself. And to see that him talking in that Adam West cadence, that it was his choice to do that.
Yeah.
I can imagine the fun that he's having in this role, dressed up like this.
And he looks like he's having fun. So I mentioned the soundtrack before, but there's different like musical montages. When he first comes home and his Amazon box is there with his costume and he puts it on, that's straight up Superman riff. Like they just stole the Superman theme, right?
I don't even. It doesn't resonate with me.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm not remembering that musical.
Okay, all right. But there's other like when they're at the end of the movie where they're locking and loading and they're gonna go final confrontation. Yeah. I mean that's like 80s Rambo synthesizer music going on there.
Right.
They got the little dance sequence when they're in the Mistmobile kind of a thing.
Oh yes, when they're doing
that's more like a current movie
with that song Crazy. But they don't really unleash the kick-ass theme until the very end.
No, until the end. But there's little snippets of it as he builds up and becomes his character.
Which is a great theme, in its own
right.
Yeah.
And if you watch the DVD, when you get to the home screen, it just plays it over and over again. Within 10 minutes, you're like, oh my God, turn this off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But there's a little homage to Miami Vice in the air tonight, too, when they're going to meet, when him and Red Mist are going to meet Big Daddy and Hit Girl. Yeah. And they're in the car. And that's a straight up Miami Vice homage.
And let's talk about Red Mist a little. McLovin. It's really unfortunate that you haven't seen him in a lot of movies since this, because you could tell how he as an actor would get pigeonholed into the geek role. But I think he really takes this Red Mist like to a great place here. He's a very comic actor and he's very funny in this. And just the scene where he's showing Kick-Ass when they're driving in his car in the Mistmobile, and he sees, and then he hits the switch. He's like, "You're gonna fucking love this," and he hits the switch, and the mist comes out, and he's like, "Yeah, mist."
yeah.
And you can tell like his character by the end, because he's sorry that he's double crossed Kick-Ass, even though he really wants his father's approval and get into his business. But he kind of is getting sold on the superhero lifestyle, I think. So
until he sees his dad get blown out the window.
In either direction, he could have ended up a good guy or a bad guy.
Yeah. So speaking of that Mistmobile, Matthew Vaughn put it in his contract that he got that as part of his payment. So he owns that car with all the tricked out stuff that actually does what it does in the movie.
That's funny.
And for all intents and purposes, it does look like they're driving through Times Square during that scene, but that was shot in Canada. I think Toronto.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff was.
It was Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of parallels between these two. These two shows here.
Yeah. The one interesting thing I'll say, which is Vaughn mentioned that whenever he writes a script, he always watches Star Wars. He always goes back to Star Wars as his center point so like Dave is his Luke Skywalker, and he even like when Big Daddy she takes his mask off. That's like straight up Anakin, coming back from Darth Vader kind of a thing. I thought that was interesting that he really kind of takes Star Wars as a template and applies it to all of his characters throughout his stuff that he writes.
That is interesting. Now, obviously, there's a lot of darkness that runs through this, and the language and the violence. And there's that really disturbing scene, the online execution, which is foiled by Hit Girl. But that's a very suspenseful scene, because you don't know if they're going to make it out of it, because you're assuming that Hit Girl is out of the picture, at least momentarily, because she gets shot and falls out the window. And then they're going as far as burning Big Daddy alive before Hit Girl shows up on the scene. So you don't know what's going to happen, especially after Kick-Ass gets stabbed earlier and all these, as Jeff.
Yeah, because he doesn't have, like you said, he's kind of impervious to pain to a certain degree, but he gets his ass handed to him.
Yeah, and it's a very effective scene, that whole, the whole online torture thing. And
it's brutal. And it's a brutal movie.
And yes, and when Hit Girl takes off Big Daddy's mask and he's got the burned face, and just like his mouth is frozen into because his face is burned, like he's baring his teeth because he can't close his mouth, because it's a horrific scene, but it's just so beautifully done by Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, and still his fake beard.
Yeah, with his Fu Manchu,
which I thought was great. Which is right. So he naturally has a beard, but when he puts the costume on, he adds extensions, like walrus mustache, to take it even further. I thought, all right, that's interesting.
And now let's get into the operatic violence of the ending. The end when they Hit Girl and Kick-Ass, they launch an assault on Frank D'Amico's apartment. And I don't know how many guys he has working for him, but he's like, 20 guys die throughout the movie, yet still he's got like his final 20 guys in the apartment with him.
Get out there. Me? Get out there. I'm not getting out there.
And Hit Girl takes them out. First, she dresses like one of the Umbrella Academy, like in the lobby of the place. She takes out the doorman. Now, I'm wondering, does anybody else live in this apartment building? Do they hear what's going on above them? I think Frank D'Amico would have taken out any complainers long ago, but before this happened. So Hit Girl holds her own against all these guys. She kills them all until she gets her way into the kitchen of the apartment, and burrows into the kitchen island, and they're trying to weed her out until finally Kick-Ass shows up with the jetpack that Big Daddy has ordered earlier in the movie, using the $300,000 that he's stolen from Rasul.
Right.
And he's like, there's this great little exchange between him and Hit Girl when they're looking at this jetpack. You don't know what it is until the end, what they're looking at. Oh,
yeah, it's like a little...
and he's like, I can't think of a better way to spend $300,000. Right. Yep. Add to cart, please, honey. Add to cart.
Yep. Yeah. That's great.
So he shows up with the Gatling guns, which I would think would deafen anyone if those things were going off over each ear as he's sitting there, as he's floating.
Oh, yeah, because they're up over the shoulders, yeah.
So then we've got the final confrontation between Hit Girl and Frank D'Amico and Kick-Ass and Red Mist. And this is another controversial scene because Frank D'Amico beats the hell out of Hit Girl for about 5 minutes before Kick-Ass saves the day.
He had some issues filming that scene, too, because he had no problems kicking the other guy in the head earlier in the movie. Like, literally, I mean, not even faking. He kicked the guy in the head. Ooh. Now, all of a sudden, the director's like, all right, now beat the crap out of this little girl. And he's like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you need to. Yeah.
And probably one of the best movie deaths I can, in recent memory of is Frank D'Amico. He's on the ass end of the bazooka. Yeah. It's blown out the window and then explodes midair above the street. So
a little bit of a True Lies feel to it when the guy gets latched onto the missile and he's shot through the building and hits the helicopter on the other end. But still, you can't take anything away from it. It's a great visual. Visually, it's
an awesome end.
Yeah.
And then that theme song kicks in.
Like you said, by then his full-on theme song is he's now a fully realized superhero.
Yeah. And I love the little coda at the end where you see Hit Girl going to school and she's confronting the two bullies.
Oh, yeah. Immediately cracking her knuckles. Yep. So, and then the setup for Red Mist being the Joker.
Yeah, and it really is too bad that they didn't take this higher with the sequel. I
don't know if they were building up that maybe by the third one, if they did a third one, that he would be, because you saw that he actually had changed his outfit and he now was picking up those orange colors, which were his father's. Like you saw there was orange pillows and all of his workout gear when he was Tai Chi or whatever, everything was orange.
And from what I remember, the sequel was really marred because the sequel came out right around one of those school shootings had occurred. And I think the public at that time were kind of fed up with screen violence.
Well, I know Roger Ebert just lambasted this, just that it was just irresponsible all around for someone to even make a movie like this with that little girl doing what she was doing.
But again, I think she's the highlight for me of the movie.
Absolutely.
It's her movie.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree.
So this is very... I really want to give this 5 buckets, but there's something in me that's pulling back just a little bit. It's not like an all-time classic, but it's so close. Yeah. So I would give this probably 4 3/4. It's just below 5 buckets for me.
4 3/4.
What are we thinking?
It's below Umbrella Academy for me, so I'm going to go 4.
I may say it's on par. I'll go 4.5.
Okay.
Did anybody catch the Claudia Schiffer little cameo?
On the billboard, right?
Yeah, she's married to Matthew Vaughn. That's his wife.
He's just got to dig that in, right?
No, he was actually adamant about not doing it. He goes, I hate fake billboards. He goes, yeah, I guess the production guys snuck it in there. They thought it was funny. So.
And did we mention that we saw a Walking Dead character here? Did either of you guys catch that?
A Walking Dead character?
Gregory, not a character,
Actor. That's
Gregory from Hilltop.
Yeah, I couldn't put a name to that guy.
He was the cop that was on D'Amico's payroll.
Yes, and supposedly he had a much larger role that they ended up just cutting a lot of his scenes just for time-wise. You're right. I recognized him, but couldn't put the two and two
Looking much
together.
younger, I should say, as well.
Yeah, well, fighting the zombie apocalypse takes it out of you. So... this was the most illegally downloaded movie of 2010, right behind Avatar, by the way.
I'm not surprised.
So the box office probably would have been a hell of a lot bigger if people actually paid money to go see it.
And Aaron Johnson as Kick-Ass, great job. Although he evokes Harry Potter so strongly in this movie, especially when he has the glasses on.
The glasses.
But I don't know if either of you guys, Aaron Johnson or Aaron Taylor Johnson, is spoiled for life for me. I made the mistake of watching Nocturnal Animals, which is not a very good movie, but he plays like a scumbag, rapist, kidnapper type murderer.
Oh,
character.
Sounds exciting.
And as soon as you see him in that movie, you cannot see him as anything else. So I always see him as that guy from Nocturnal Animals, which is, a credit to him. As
right.
He did a very good job in that movie, but yeah. So what do we have for a confessional today? What was the settle upon?
The confessional was name a comic series that you feel is worthy of a movie or TV show that has not been made yet.
Now it comes back.
Yes. So I want to get Mike
to go first on this one.
I want Mike to go up first. He's my comic guy.
The one that I thought of first was Moon Knight, and that's just been out in the zeitgeist forever. Kind of, like
the white Batman.
Yeah, the white Batman, kind of maybe good for Netflix, but not good for Netflix anymore. But what I settled on was, probably you guys are not even aware of this, is a comic book called Lazarus. It's written by Greg Rucka and Michael Lark, and it's sort of this dystopian future where 16 families rule the world, and each of them have a Lazarus, which is kind of their own family hero to sort of battle things out. And it's just a fantastic book. And I actually think this might be has sold its rights. I know that. And I don't know if it's under production or not, but that's the one that I most would like to see.
And who publishes?
This is Image Comics.
Image. Now you see this as like a TV show?
Yeah, because you would definitely have multiple episodes. Yeah.
So that sounds very kind of Game of Thrones-ish as far as like, families vying for power.
It is, and it's actually the author Greg Rucka will not watch the Game of Thrones because it's been gotten some comparisons to it, so that he can't be called out for ripping it off.
Right. Interesting. All right, Lazarus.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. I will go. This is I'm going to go a little obscure as well. This was a book that was put out by Wildstorm. It only ran, I think, like 27 issues from 99 to like 2009. It was written by Warren Ellis and illustrated by John Cassidy. And it's called Planetary.
I've heard of this, but I've never read it.
So I will say that and unfortunately, I've now sold my entire comic collection. But looking this up and researching it, I'm like, I need to reread these books, and now I don't have them to read. So Planetary was like the secret organization, and I don't remember if there was multiple teams, but the books centered on this one team that had like 3 characters in it. And what they were doing is they would jump around in time. They had the ability to time travel, and they were decoding the 20th century, going back, and a lot of it had to do. There was a lot of pop culture references, but they would, as they jumped through time, the art style would change to reflect like a Steranko or a Bernie Wrightson or Barry Windsor Smith. And they would bring in all these real world versions of Doc Savage, Godzilla, Tarzan. They even had the Fantastic Four in an issue. And again, for licensing rights, they couldn't just straight up refer to these characters by their names. But I thought that this would be perfect TV series, which is every episode, maybe you bring in a different director that has a specific look or feel to it. That each episode, whether it was a 1-story arc or maybe it was a 3-story arc, would have a completely different look and feel to it based on, whether or not they were dealing with Sherlock Holmes or if they were dealing with the Renaissance or a future looking thing. So that was my take. Planetary.
I do like both the artist and the writer. So
yeah, John Cassidy really kills it, and he and they got into alternate dimensions and multiverse stuff as well. So that also played into it. So again, probably the licensing rights would be all over the place as far as being able to have a character that looked and acted like Tarzan without referring to him as Tarzan.
See, now I'm going in a different direction because I would like to see them reboot a comic that I think has never gotten its just day. There's been 2 iterations of this out already, and I don't think either of them have come to much at all. Ghost Rider. The terrible. He gave Nick Cage his kudos for Kick-Ass, but I cannot give him any kudos for Ghost Rider. He is completely miscast, too old to play Johnny Blaze. And, I give him props that he probably loves the character as much as I do.
Right.
Still, I don't think I can play Johnny Blaze.
No.
And I don't think Nick Cage should have either. So, and they basically followed the story, but I don't think they got the true darkness of Ghost Rider that you got from reading those early comics. And the version of Ghost Rider that showed up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the later day.
Yeah, the 90s Ghost Rider.
I wasn't invested in at all. So I think if they go back to the original Johnny Blaze storyline with like an actor that's age appropriate, that has a dark theme to it with maybe a little bit of tongue in cheek, and have the character like in his bring it to his demonic roots, like so you never really know if he's a good guy
or bad guy,
monster, that's just burning people with this hellfire as they.
Yeah, there seems like there could be a whole Marvel untapped universe. I know, Blade was pretty groundbreaking when it came out, but like Blade would fall within kind of like that realm of Ghost Rider, even
and all those monsters like Werewolf by Night,
right? Yeah, Morbius, the living vampire, like those guys that kind of live underground and aren't really like spandex wearing superheroes.
Yeah,
they could create like this whole sub universe of Marvel characters.
Yeah. Now, Jim, they actually have a version of Ghost Rider now, which is the Cosmic Ghost Rider, which is Frank Castle,
the Punisher.
Frank Castle, the Punisher, who has been endowed with like cosmic spirit and powers by Galactus, and he roams the galaxy. I don't follow this, but and it's a very popular character now.
Is he a herald of Galactus?
I don't know, actually.
That's interesting. Does he have like a space bike?
He does.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't have Ghost Rider without a bike.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Jeez, yeah, and I even remember his Ghost Rider's name was Zarathos. I remember that was like the demon's name. That was Johnny Blaze.
I thought it was Mephisto that he made the deal with, though, right? I don't remember his demon having a name. All right, it's been a while. Interesting. All right, food for thought. There you go.
So next week we're back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Thank God.
And this is a long time coming.
Captain Marvel.
I'm gonna need to see this like a Thursday night when it comes out.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
I've kept away from the spoilers.
I haven't really. I mean, they're really pumping it up as far as promos, but I haven't seen too many variations thereof. I know Entertainment Weekly has an article in this week's, but it doesn't really give anything away.
Yeah, the major spoiler I think was for me was that the Skrulls were the bad guys, and that was months ago.
Yeah, that would have been a nice reveal, right?
Yeah. But I haven't seen anything since then, and I've, like you guys, I've closed my eyes every time the commercials come on TV, so I don't even know the visuals that well. It's going to be fresh. So with Captain Marvel, we're really taking a leap with this.
This is a big leap.
This was one of our picks for that movie that you love that nobody else has ever heard of. And we're going with Mike's first.
Corvette Summer.
Corvette Summer, yes.
which is almost impossible to find. I think we finally found it on iTunes.
Yeah, it's on iTunes and it's on Google Play. So I'll watch it on one of those. Right?
Neither of which I can get on my television, but I'll be able to watch it on my computer.
Yeah, Google Play I pulled up on my TV, so that's how I'm.
Oh, did you?
It. Yeah.
I wonder if I can do that.
So why would you pair these up? You may ask. These two features, Captain Marvel, Corvette Summer. Well,
that's Luke Skywalker.
If you go to our Instagram feed, Jeff is going to come up with a visual, the two posters, the artwork together. You will see there's kind of a correlation there. Captain Marvel with her red, blue with some yellows going on outfit, and the Corvette from Corvette Summer look kind of the same color scheme.
Got the flames.
Got the flames. You've got both starting with C.
So you're saying it's tenuous. It's tenuous at best.
Yeah. And you've got 4 syllables in each title. Corvette Summer, Captain Marvel. We can make it work. We can make it work.
So I was saying before that I don't remember the car being red. I remember it being yellow, but then when I watched the trailer, I realized that the guy who steals it actually spray paints it. So it's more of a gold yellow.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
So, but I have not seen this movie in years. And based on the movie, Annie Potts is just hanging on in those short shorts. So we'll see if that holds up.
Yeah, the Annie Potts in the poster, there's a little bit of a side boob going on in that poster, I noticed.
Look, her little hiney cheeks are hanging right out of those pants as well. So
we'll see. Yeah.
They were really going for titillating. And this was marked right off from Star Wars, right? They hyped it up.
I don't remember seeing this since it was on like HBO in 78, 79. So it's been a long time.
Yep, has been a while. All right. And there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, this was a movie you remember as a kid. I'm trying to remember why we.
We were on a Star Wars conversation, and it was you wanted anything Star Wars, and so Mark Hamill was in this, and I'm like, I'm watching it.
Yeah. Do you remember watching the Big Red one too? Because he was also in that.
Actually,
Lee Marvin. That was another one I remember seeing, like a newspaper clipping of it. And I was like, oh, I need to watch that. That's Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, from what I remember, he's barely in the Big Red one.
Yeah.
I could. It's been a very long time, but I don't think he was one of the major
main characters. Yeah. No. That didn't matter. He was Luke Skywalker. Yeah. Still is Luke Skywalker.
So there you have it. Next week.
That's it. Another episode. We're quickly zooming toward 450.
Yeah.
50, kids.
Yeah. You'll have to tune in to see what we're going to do for that 50th episode. We're going to try to. I'm
going to have to tune in to find out what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So there you have it, gentlemen. All right. Another show down.
Another show. Thank you again for listening.
Yeah, thank you, everybody out there.
Tell your friends, please.
Tell your friends. All right, you guys.
All right. You're out.
Jeff, did you